the SupaTea Podcast Show. Happy Sunday! It is Soulful Sundays. And it's been a few weeks since I've actually um, been in this home studio with our book um, because I've been working on reopening my cafe. And I have a whole brand new series that just was birthed yesterday. So now Saturdays and Sundays, you will get to see me doing a weekly series. So now I got two official weekly series. Let's talk about it. It's still in the making. But Thursday seems like a good day for that. It seems like every Thursday I'm just having a moment of ventilation. Um, so that'll be cool. That'll be cool once I have three, right? Three series. Ooh, I got this amazing virtual assistant, okay? And I have this hat on today. Because if you see this purple, my purple braids, they ain't done yet. I'm gonna work on them after this podcast show. So yeah, check out my new series, um, Roadmap to Reopening Ma Matcha Cafe. Welcome to Soulful Sundays. We're gonna pick up where we left off at, which was chemical messengers make the connection. And I'm gonna just go right in. This is page 87, people. Let's look more closely now at how. There was a jellyfish. I'm sorry. There's another area here in the gray part. And I'm hoping and praying that I read this other area. But because it's been like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to briefly just skim it really quick. Okay, it seems familiar. Let's continue. Chemical messengers make the connection. If you are new here, I am reading Evolve the Brain by Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're on page 87. This is my series, Soulful Sunday. Welcome, 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 welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Okay, page 87, I'm going to jump right in and start reading. Let's look more closely now at how nerve impulses travel from one neuron to another. How do they cross that synaptic gap? When a nerve impulse travels down a neuron to the very end of the axon, it reaches the presynaptic terminal on the sending side of the synaptic gap. At the presynaptic terminal are minuscule synaptic vessels, which store chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters pass important information to other nerve cells across the tiny synaptic space into other parts of the body to orchestrate special functions. And they have figures here at point A, figure 3.5. It's on the next page. Illustrates these vesicles filled with neurotransmitters. So this is the diagram that they're talking about. But guess what? I have this directly behind me too, ironically. Ironically, behind me, I have the nervous system. And what they are specifically talking about is right here. These are the presynaptic, that's the presynaptic membrane right there. Those little dots are the neurotransmitters. This right here is a receptor. So this is what they're talking about. That is a nerve basically enlarged. And that's how your nervous system communicates with itself. And this is other parts of the nervous system, how it runs throughout the body. Isn't it interesting? I have it right behind me. I can't make up my, what you call it. I cannot make up my path, people. I'm just here being obedient. Okay, Neurotransmitters, for example, serotonin or dopamine, also produce the moods that flavor our experiences. They are the reasons that sometimes we do an activity and feel happy, while at other times, when we do the same activity, we have different sets of emotions. If, like most people, you go through many different moods in the course of a day, from being excited or in a positive frame of mind to feeling depressed, irritable, or fatigued, you have experienced the effects of neurotransmitters, the brain chemistry we create on a daily basis by our own thoughts determines how we feel. Think of the vesicles at the end of the axon terminal as tiny, specially built water balloons, and the neurotransmitters as the fluid in the balloons. Only matching sets of terminals and neurotransmitters can work together. Like a lightning bolt, the electrochemical activity of a nerve impulse causes one or more vessels to burst, and each one that bursts releases thousands of neurotransmitter molecules. With every nerve impulse, some vesicles erupt, while other vesicles are unaffected. So that certain neurotransmitters are emitted while other chemical messengers are not released. What determines which neurotransmitters are released? Nerve impulses aren't all the same. Each electrical impulse traveling down the neuron has a specific frequency or magnitude of charge. We hear that word a lot nowadays, right? Frequency or vibes. Oh, I'm not feeling the vibes here. Basically means I'm not feeling the frequency here. All right? And if you're not aware, we are electric, magnetic individuals. All of us. All of us. All of us. All of us have that. This is a part of our physical makeup. Now, each kind of neurotransmitter responds to a different frequency. Thus, a specific electrochemical impulse causes a particular vesicle to burst and discharge a corresponding frequency specific neurotransmitter. Imagine these chemical messengers, if you will, as tiny ferry boats crossing a channel and docking on the other side at their proper destinations. Did you imagine that? At the receiving dendrite, each transmitter docks or binds to a specific chemical receptor site, like a key fitting into its matching lock. The shape of the neurotransmitter must match the shape of the receptor. Points B and C in Figure 3.5 demonstrate this lock and key model. At the points where neurotransmitters dock on the other side, they release their passengers, which then have specific duties. Individuals that leave the ferry boats may all travel down the same highway, but they have different agendas. Some may go home to rest, some may go to work, some may be on vacation, some may even police the ferry boat itself. This is analogous to what transmitters do. They cross the gap between the neuron that releases them and a neighboring nerve cell. At the receiving end of the gap, they cause the release of specific chemicals that influence the activity of the neighboring nerve cell. That in turn influences the next receiving neuron, and so on. The chemical electrical exchange. Have you noticed that nerve impulses start as electrical in nature, then turn chemical, and then become electrical again? In other words, the electrical impulses that neurons generate are transmuted into chemical impulses at the synapse via neurotransmitters. These chemical messages stimulate complex molecular interactions, including ion fluxes, which trigger electrical impulses at the neighboring neuron. When a certain electrical threshold is reached, this activates that adjoining neuron and sets off an action potential that continues the message along the receiving nerve cell. Not every nerve cell passes along the messages it receives. To illustrate this, imagine that you are trying to cheer up a friend who is depressed over a lost love. He is stuck in inertia. Repeatedly, repeatedly. It doesn't say repeatedly that much, but I wanted to emphasize that because, yeah, it happens. Your friend is repeatedly rehashing his woes. Realizing that he needs to forget about his misery, you decide to stimulate him in many different ways. Uh-oh. I tell you, this is not a children's channel. They're not talking about anything else. I turned the page. You take him out for an early dinner. Go for a stroll and ice cream on the boardwalk. Accompany him to a movie and then meet up with friends at a nightclub where you watch stand up comedy. At some point in all this activity, your friend probably reaches a threshold at which he became excited enough to forget about his initial resting state. Nerve cells change from a resting state to an excited state in much the same way your friend did. One form of stimulation sometimes may not be enough, but if you can provide enough stimulation to get them to the point of excitement, they will become excited and stay that way. Once a nerve cell becomes excited at the postsynaptic terminal, it now changes from a receiver of information to a sender. I don't know why this has become a Broadway theatrical show, but hey, it's how it's coming out, people. Of information. Now, the nerve cell will spread its excitement. And you know why I have put some music and some theatrics in here? Because it is so true. How this book is describing neurons, right? Your nerve cells is also how we work on a whole. So, on a whole, if you're feeling down and your friend is like, hey, let's go do some fun stuff, let's go out to eat, let's go watch a movie, let's go and watch some comedy. Now, your whole, welcome in, your whole mood has changed. And guess what? Now you're not feeling that sadness and you're feeling excited. And it's not just your nerve cells that are firing and sending out impulses. You are sending out impulses too. You are sending out electricity of excitement. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on reading. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Usually, okay. Okay. When the neurotransmitters are released at the presynaptic terminal, the neuron sending point, they generate an electrical response at the postsynaptic terminal of the receiving nerve cell. This electrical impulse has to travel from the receiving, that's the dendrite, to the cell body and down the axon before the neurotransmitter accomplishes its job. Think of neurotransmitters as chemicals that link the communication between neurons so that messages travel throughout the body. Usually, there must be an abundance of neurotransmitter activity, stimulation, at the postsynaptic terminal, the neuron's receiving end, for the next nerve cell to become excited enough to fire. Small amounts of neurotransmitters from singular nerve cell firings generally do not reach the threshold to produce an action potential on the postsynaptic terminal. It's an all or nothing phenomenon, like the moment when your alarm clock goes off. Either you get out of bed or you don't, but you can't do both. Different types of neurotransmitters also play a role in whether nerve cells get fired up or ignore the alarm. Types of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are found in varying concentrations in specific parts of the brain, based on each area's particular function. Some major neurotransmitters are glutamate, GABA, here's one, acetyl Acetyl, acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. I probably butchered that word. If you want to know the spelling of it, so you can look it up and probably pronounce it correctly. Thanks to good old Google. It is A as in apple, C as in cat, A as in apple, T as in Tom, Y as in youth, L as in liver, C as in cat, H as in holy, O as in ocean, L as in liver, I as in ice cream, N as in Nancy, and E as in easy. Serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, nitric oxide. I didn't even know that nitric oxide was a neurotransmitter. Did you know that? I thought that was a vitamin supplement. And various endorphins. We are all learning here today together, people. Ain't that wonderful? Shoot. I swear for God, I thought nitric oxide was a vitamin. Because I've seen it in my vitamin supplements. I didn't know I was ingesting neurotransmitters. Shoot, talk about I'm empathic. Well, I wonder why I got extra neurotransmitters because I've been taking supplements of it. Didn't even know that it was a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters can perform many different types of functions. They can stimulate, inhibit, or change the activity of a neuron itself on a cellular level. They can tell a neuron to unhook from its current connection or make a neuron stick better to its present connection. Neurotransmitters can signal neighboring neurons to become excited, or they can send a message to the next neuron down the line that will inhibit or completely stop a nerve impulse. They can even change the message as it's being sent to a neuron so that it sends a new message to all the nerve cells connected to it. Any of these activities can take place in a millisecond. What the heck is a millisecond? It's a fraction of a second. But a millisecond sounds like a very tiny fraction of a second. Well, goodness gracious, that's why it's so important what you watch and what you listen to. Because you are impacting your neurons. You're impacting your brain quickly. You're like, oh, I just strolled on social media for about like a half an hour. I just did that for a half an hour. Oh, I didn't get affected by it. Are you sure? Because it takes a millisecond to send a message. So what messages are you putting in your mind? This is not a Bible. This is a book called Evolve Your Brain. I am phenomenal. Evolve Your Brain is the title of this book. This is a book by a neuroscientist. Yes, it's a modern book. It's a modern book. You have to be into metaphysics to be able to decode the Bible, so. I'm just gonna put that out there because that's the truth. You gotta be into metaphysics to be able to decode that. So yeah, no. This is a science book, but it breaks down all the science, and all of this science is backed up by science. It's written by a neuroscientist. Neurons are the parts of your nerve cells. They are part of your nerves. So let's continue to read. Where are we? Here we go. We stopped at millisecond. Millisecond still blowing my mind a little bit because millisecond obviously is a fraction of a second, and a second is very quickly. So if a second is very quickly, then a millisecond is extra quick. And if within a millisecond, the messages that your neurons are sending can change and have effect, then you as a receptor to what you're watching and what you're listening to can be influenced, if you're not careful, on what you choose to watch and listen to and think. We have two types of neurotransmitters in the brain and nervous system. Oh, excitatory. Looks like this says excitatory. Excitatory. Excitatory neuron transmitters stimulate or activate nerve transmission. They change the electrical state of the postsynaptic membrane, allowing the action potential in the next cell to be initiated. These types of chemicals in the appropriate combinations enable our mental functions to take place at warp speed. Now we went from millisecond to warp speed. Ooh, it's getting interesting now. The major excitatory brain neurotransmitter is glutamate. When glutamate is released from a neuron's presynaptic, that's where it's sending it, terminal, it binds to the receptor at the postsynaptic terminal of the next cell. Then it changes the postsynaptic cell's electrical state to make it more likely that an action potential will fire. Okay. Conversely, inhibitory, no, that one, really easy, neurotransmitters do just what their names say. They inhibit or stop in the name of love. It's been waiting to come out. They stop activity in the next cell down the line and end the excitement on the postsynaptic terminal of the receiving nerve cell. The major inhibitory neurotransmitter is GABA. And GABA is acronym GABA, and it means gamma aminobutyric acid. Ooh. Butyric, okay. Sounds a little. Ugh. Anyway, when GABA is released at the presynaptic synapse, it too attaches to the corresponding postsynaptic receptors. However, GABA nerve cells would fire so repetitively that they would become overstimulated, causing significant damage and resulting in major imbalances in the brain. Neurons can easily associate with and connect to many different neurons. They also have the ability to readily turn impulses on and off at will, converge information to a single cell, and diverge electrical activity in a myriad of different directions. Instantaneously, neurons also connect and disconnect from one another at different synaptic spaces. Based on their complexity, biological science is beginning to comprehend how little we really know about the inner workings and interconnectedness of neurons. It stands to reason that because neurons can direct so many functions and easily read on off patterns in collective ways, they bear little resemblance to the drawings we may remember from our school books, depicting tiny wires lining up in a tiny fashion. For our purposes, we might picture neurons in terms of the vast, ever changing network of individual computers communicating at lightning speeds via the internet. If we can visualize neurons as billions of computers constantly connecting to and disconnecting from one another, we may begin the enormous task of explaining their intelligence on a microscopic level. Therefore, when I talk about wiring of neurons, understand that this is a metaphor to help us learn how these superior cells tend to make contact and work cooperatively with each other. The water between our ears. That be the brain. That be the brain. That be the brain. As mentioned earlier, some 75 to 85% of the contents of our wonderfully complex biocomputer, aka brain, is water. The consistency, you know what? I gotta drink some water right now for that. Like, how much? I've heard this saying before that our bodies is made up mostly of water, but I never broke that up into body parts. I never was like, ooh, my body is what, 60% water, and my heart is this percentage of water, and my nervous system is this percentage of water, but the brain is 75 to 85% of water. Oh, that's why being hydrated is not no small task. It's very important. So important. The consistency of a living brain is similar in some areas to a soft boiled egg, while other areas are dense and rubbery like a hard boiled egg. No wonder nature has surrounded the brain with a bony cranium to protect its delicate tissues against injury. Water is essential to the brain's electrical means of information exchange. The brain's watery content amplifies its electrical conductivity and allows electrical currents to spread quickly throughout the cranium in a smooth and continuous fashion. This spreading process, divergence, is greatly facilitated by water. To illustrate why this is true, consider what happens when lightning strikes a pond. If you're in the pond, even if you're a half mile away from the lightning bolt's point of entry, you can be electrocuted because the electric current will travel at extremely fast speeds through the water in all directions. In a similar fashion, the water in your brain acts as a conduit to facilitate electrical charges. Water provides the perfect medium for these charged particles to diffuse quickly and freely across the inner and outer environment of the nerve cell. And now, the nervous system. Other parts of the nervous system, besides the brain itself, conduct impulses to and from the brain. These are the nerves. A nerve can be one or more bundles of nerve cell fibers branching out into every part of the body, forming part of a system that conveys impulses of sensation, motion, and so on between the brain or spinal cord and all the other parts of the body. Nerves are extensions of the brain. The nervous system serves to connect the environment to the body and the body to the brain and the brain to the body. So let's take another look at it. Matter of fact, I am going to flip it so we can really get a good look at it. So you see how it is all connected? And these lines here are nerves. That's the brain. We just finished going over how neurons. So those are all the parts of the neuron. The dendrites, the nucleus, the axon, that's where things are traveling down. That is covered in a myelin sheath. Then we go to the synapse, and there's the presynaptic neuron, the neurotransmitters, the receptors. All of this is connected. Coming from the brain, all of that is connected. All of that is what's inside of your spine. And then connecting to all other parts. Aren't we some complex people? Aren't we complex? Very, very complex. We're not thinking about these functions, right? We're not like, okay, this is what I got to do. Some of these things are like automated in our body systems, which is pretty freaking amazing, if you ask me. And if you're watching, I guess you're concerned with my perceptions. Fundamentally, the nervous system as a whole activates, controls, and coordinates all bodily functions, integrating the vast complexities of living tissue into order and harmony. It regulates the endocrine, musculoskeletal, that's your muscles, immune, digestive, cardiovascular, you know your digestive is your stomach and your intestines, cardiovascular, that's your heart, reproductive, that's your lower parts. Respiratory, that's your lungs. And elimination, which your elimination system is part of your digestive system, or at least the two are connected. Without the nervous system, there could be no life. To monitor and maintain all these systems, the nervous system constantly communicates with the rest of the body. Through our senses, smell, taste, touch, sight, hearing, which are extensions of nerve receptors that allow us to process different types of information about our environment. What's around us? What sounds do we hear? What things do we see? What do we smell? hmm The nervous system receives information and evaluates conditions both outside and within the body. In addition to hearing, sight, smell, taste, touch, and pressure, the nervous system processes other internal senses, including hunger, thirst, pain, these goddamn legs of mine, temperature, and whoa, here comes another word, proprioception, awareness of the spatial position of body parts. Okay, learn something else new today. The nervous system stores the information it receives in the form of memories. Memories don't live like people do. They always come for you. I'll be on Broadway one day, but until now, you get to see me for free here at the SupaTea Podcast Show. Components of the nervous system. Let's go back to seriousness. The nervous system actually consists of several components, subsystems, which overlap within the body. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. One can think of the spinal cord as an extension of the brain with billions, billions of sensory and motor impulses traveling up and down, up and down, up and down the spinal cord, as if it were a fiber optic cable. Basically, it is. Our other nervous system is the peripheral nervous system, and it includes all the nerves that are outside the brain and the spinal cord. Nerves that carry impulses from tissues and organs to the spinal cord, and nerves that convey signals from the spinal cord to tissues and organs, including our sensory organs, are all included as peripheral nerves. If the spinal cord is comparable to a fiber optic cable, then peripheral nerves are like wires that extend out from this fiber optic cable and carry two-way communications, sending and receiving, between the spinal cord and the arms and legs, the feet and hands, and all the internal organs. And then they have figures showing this. And even though I showed you the diagram behind me, I'm going to also show you this diagram too of the nervous system. This is a picture of the central nervous system, and this is the peripheral nervous system. Central, brain and spinal cord, peripheral, everything else. Two types of nerves make up the peripheral nervous system. The first type of peripheral nerves is called the cranial nerve because it's near the head. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, which originate in the brain stem. They carry impulses for many functions such as smell, vision, the maintenance of equilibrium, glandular secretion, hearing, swallowing, facial expressions. The second type of peripheral nerve is made up of the 31 pairs of spinal nerves, which emerge from or between the vertebrae on both sides of the spinal column. Each spinal nerve branches out and connects with a specific region of the neck, trunk, or limbs, and is responsible for function, movement, and sensation. Figures, they show another figure. So figure 36B and 36C Clarify how some peripheral nerves exit the spine and communicate with muscles and tendons. I'll show you the other diaphragm. While other peripheral nerves connect to various organs. So you already saw 3-6B. This right here is 3-6C. Interesting. Um, Explains why you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. It's your nervous system. Huh. Aren't we complex, wonderful beings? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Our involuntary, and it's an involuntary nerve. You know how I just figured that out? Looking at this diaphragm right here, because it's a nerve that goes right to your daggone bladder. Bladder is full, sends a signal to the nerve sends a signal to you, and you could be in a best slumber ever. You gotta wake your ass up to go to the bathroom. Oh God. Good stuff. Of course, if you have a healthy nervous system. Our involuntary subconscious intelligence, residing within both the central and peripheral nervous system, is the autonomic nervous system. This is the body's automatic, self-regulating control system, and its origins are in the midbrain. The medulla, blah blah. I don't know if that's the part. I just felt like saying it. The midbrain. It's the limbic brain, not your neocortex. And I think the ablagulam gata, I'm jacking it up. It's another part of the brain. Okay. This is the body's automatic self-regulating control system, and its origins are in the midbrain, an area just below our neocortex, and one of three major divisions of the brain. The midbrain is under the neocortex and is the area responsible for the body's automatic functions. The autonomic nervous system is responsible for the involuntary functions for homeostasis, the continuous balance that the body innate intelligence maintains. Our autonomic nervous system regulates body temperature, blood sugar levels, pulse rate, and all those millions of processes that we take for granted each day. It's called autonomic because of all the functions it controls without any conscious effort on our parts. Again, we're not thinking about these things. We're not like, oh, let me think about how many heartbeats I gotta beat today. We're not thinking about it. It's doing it automatically. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The autonomic nervous system automatically self-regulates to keep the body in internal chemical order and maintain a normal level of health. We could say that it operates at a subconscious level. The autonomic nervous system has two divisions. The sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And then they have another figure that gives an example. Depicts the two branches of the autonomic nervous system. So we got the autonomic nervous system as one whole, and then they have two branches from the autonomic nervous system, and that's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Because the sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for emergencies, this part of the autonomic nervous system is sometimes called fight or flight nervous system. When we perceive a threat from the environment, this nervous system automatically activates to get the body ready to either fight, flight, or run away. So interesting that as soon as I get to this point in my book, my intercom starts ringing. And I have to make a decision. Because my nervous system just kicked in. And I felt it. I'm gonna stop right there. I felt that this relative was going to try to pull this. And come with me. I'll do some adulting. Grab my keys. Good thing I got this. I got some clothes on. See? I'll tell you nobody. Let's see. Make sure. Take out my stuff. Grab some keys. Let's move this other braid. 1 second. Where is the other braid? Oh. Here's the other braid. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to find my keys. There we go.